Today I am reviewing the latest complexion release by Dior. This is their Forever Hydra Nude foundation, and on paper this foundation checks off all my boxes except one, which is blurring, and there are primers and powders that can be used for that. I think that any woman over 50 would think that this was a great foundation for her on paper. We're going to see how it worked on my mature, fine-lined, not so fine-lined, redness-prone, dry, enlarged pores, broken capillary skin. I think I covered all the things. And I'm also going to show you what I have on my eyes, which is one of the new palettes from NARS and the new releases from Glossier. And hopefully you'll find this interesting and helpful. So if that sounds good, stick with me. We're about to get right into it.
Under her disguise, yeah. And all the girls around the world, they wanna be that. And all they told you to the store, like.
So I'm Mona, I'm 54 from South Louisiana, and I love doing product reviews. I also have a cold. If you hear me a little scratchy or drippy, it's not going to influence the review because I have been testing these products for 7 days now. I already have all my thoughts. So I'm never trying to get you to spend money that you don't have on this channel or buy something new that you don't need. I'm just trying to give you the pros and cons on products after I have tested them so that when you're in the market or when you need something, you have an idea if a product is right for you. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you. Welcome if you're new. Thank you if you're returning. And if you use my affiliate links because you decide that you're in the market or want to pick up something that I review, I appreciate it. It helps me buy more products for the channel. So I am going to do a demonstration of me applying this foundation this morning, even though I've been using it for 7 days, and you'll see some footage of that as well. And while I am putting up that demonstration of me applying it, I'm going to be telling you what the claims are and why I was interested in this foundation. First of all, it's in a glass bottle, which is very nice. It has a great pump, and I do like Dior complexion products. I have their Forever Skin Glow, and I love it. I also have their foundation stick, and I love that. Now that has one flaw, and that's I feel like it accentuates my pores just a tiny bit, but that is the only flaw in the complexion stick in my opinion, and I can put a little primer on that or a little powder and solve that problem. So I really like that product as well. That gives you kind of an idea of my taste, and we're going to get into the claims as you see me apply this. So this was made in France. It is supposed to be inclusive, but I beg to differ on that. It comes in 18 shades with 3 undertones, and today I just don't feel like 18 shades are enough, especially for a company like Dior that has the money to put out more shades than 18. Now, luckily for me, I was able to find my perfect match in 2CR. It is a perfect match for me. I thought that 2CR would be too dark when I purchased this, and so I got 1.5 neutral because I figured I'd go for the right shade and the wrong undertone, and hopefully it would balance out. And this works for me too. But the 2CR is actually a perfect match if you are my shade twin. This retails for $57 US, 77 Canadian dollars, so it's not inexpensive, but it is Dior. If you're fragrance averse, it does have a fragrance. However, I actually love the fragrance. It is so fresh and clean. I would like that in my bath products. I think that it would make a great smelling lotion to go to sleep in or a great smelling bath product scent. Claims to be medium coverage, last for 24 hours while looking invisible on your skin, and it claims to be hydrating for up to 48 hours. It's made of 50% water, and it has hyaluronic acid as one of the ingredients, so theoretically that should draw water into your skin and help it not only be hydrated but look plumper. And it claims to be comfortable on your skin. So you've seen me apply it, and I'm using a damp beauty sponge because the medium coverage is not working out too well for my skin. You have to give the disclaimer that it is extremely brutal right now on people's skin. How your skin normally behaves might not be how it's behaving right now. If you're having winter like we are here in the US, then you're going in the heat, into the cold, back into the heat. Your house is probably being heated, which is not the normal. It's sucking the hydration out of my skin. I do have a humidifier going. I have done every skincare trick that I know to hydrate my skin, which I can give you a video on that if you'd be interested. And I have done my best to have my skin in the best condition for this foundation. But I'm going to pop up some pictures of me outside with this foundation before I've applied this makeup, so you can see what it looks like in the bright light, because I do think that the bright light hides no secrets. Sometimes inside, or when you're standing far from somebody, you know, things look a little different than they do out in the bright light. So if you're looking at that picture, you can see that I don't think this foundation is doing me any favors. It's accentuating my pores. It's accentuating texture. It is not even covering everything. So you can still see my broken capillaries. You can still see some redness, which is okay if it doesn't look cakey. I don't mind my skin peeking through a foundation if it's gonna look invisible on my skin and just even things out. But with this foundation, if I build it up to a full medium coverage, it's gonna look even worse. I'm gonna pop a picture up of that. This is from a previous day that I've worn this foundation, and you can see just how terrible it looks on my skin. And when I tell you I have tried to hydrate it to make sure that that wasn't the issue, I've used my Aspen K Natural Glow Face Oil, which usually helps with any situation like that. I've tried it with primers, without primers, with hydrating primers, with blurring primers. I've worn it every which way, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so you can see me now. I have my makeup on. This is after that picture that I showed you outside. And it's not settling into any fine lines, but it's kind of bunching up right here on my chin. It's bunching up where I have texture. If I build it up, you can see how it looks. I'm popping up a picture of it at the medium coverage level. So at the medium coverage level, it does do a great job of covering my capillaries. It does a great job of covering redness. It does give you a true medium coverage if you want that. But for me, the expense of having the true medium coverage is a cake face. And so that's over every kind of condition, over every kind of day. I can take you through the 4 hours. I can take you through the end of the day and give you some of that footage. But I can tell you that right now, this foundation is a fail for me. It's a fail for me because the benefits don't outweigh the cons for me. So the benefits are that it is long lasting. So I wore this up to 13.5 hours. In fact, it was 13 hours and 45 minutes. It was almost 14 hours. And the only place that it broke apart was around my mouth from eating and drinking, and a little bit right here because I have been blowing my nose a lot. And I don't think that is the fault of the foundation. I mean, my cold has been having me pretty runny and drippy. And so I don't think any foundation could have stood up to me blowing my nose over and over again during the day. But all of the other areas were intact at 13 hours and 45 minutes. So yes, it's long wearing. Yes, it can give you medium coverage. But is it invisible on the skin? Not on my skin. You guys can see the pictures. There's nothing invisible about this foundation. Nothing. As far as being hydrating for up to 48 hours, it wasn't even hydrating for up to 5 minutes. It didn't feel hydrating at all to me. And right now, I feel like this is one of the worst foundations I have ever used. I watched some reviews when I was testing this out over the 7 days, and nobody that I watched gave it a negative review. So I need you to keep that in mind when you're judging this foundation. Maybe something unusual is going on with my skin. I live in South Louisiana. This is a humid state. We normally have a lot of humidity in the air. And right now, with the heater on and me going out into the cold to walk Gracie, coming back into the heat, back into the cold, back into the heat, maybe my skin is just not in good shape. It's not breaking out, you know, it's clear. Other than that, I don't see anything going on with my skin that's obvious. The only thing I can think of is that it's the temperature. I do like the other Dior foundation, so I guess what I need to go do is see how this one plays on my skin and see if it suddenly looks bad as well. Then I would know that it's just the heat or the weather, the combination of not having as much humidity in the air. I'm running my humidifier and I'm moisturizing my skin like crazy, and it's not helping. So I am going to not take you through the trouble of showing you what it looks like at 4 hours, showing you what it looks like at the end of the day. I have all that footage. I'm just going to pop up a few video clips and a few pictures of just various days and times and how this looked. So unfortunately, right now, I just have to give it a thumbs down. I've tried it for 7 days and I cannot get it to work, no matter what I do. So until my skin changes or the weather changes, this won't be one that I'm using. And I have other foundations that are working out like they normally do. So I can't tell you if it's the foundation or the weather. The only thing that thinks it might be that is because there are so many good reviews from other people. If you have combination skin or you have oily skin, you may love this foundation. Don't think because my review is negative on this foundation at this time that it's not accurate. I mean, I have really put it through the paces. You can see from the pictures, it does not look good. That is not my imagination. That is not me being picky. Now, I will come back and try this again, maybe when the weather warms up here, when it's not so dry, and see if I change my mind. But for now, it's unfortunately a thumbs down. What I will say is a thumbs up is this eyeshadow palette by NARS. Ladies, this is just a traditional NARS palette. NARS is not known to be particularly unique with their color stories, and I'm not doing a full demo of this palette because it's been out for a while, and I do have the new Valentine's collection that I want to show you by NARS, but I'm enjoying this palette. Even with my leaky eyes, and they are leaking a lot, this eyeshadow is holding up. So I think that the mattes are true NARS performance. So if you like NARS's formula, which I do, I think their mattes are really easy to blend. They're soft, silky. I think these hold true to that performance. I don't think that there are any duds in this palette. So if you like this color story, if you're on the lookout for a palette, the performance has held up even with my eyes watering and watering and watering. I've been wearing this for a few days and I've liked it all of the days that I've worn it. This shade right here, wow, like, wow. This shimmer is stunning. There is one in here that's more of a topper, but it's okay, for, in my opinion, to have a celestial like topper in your palette. I think that this duochrome right here in the center, I always want to love these duochromes. This is one of those bluish, reddish, gray duochromes, and maybe even a little bit of pink. But what this ends up looking like on my eyes sometimes is like I have a bruise or a shadow. I already am fighting darkness around my eyes and I don't want to add to it or make my eyes look like they're bruised or dull. So this is not a shade that I pull for a lot, but it is pretty. This is a shade that I always like, this taupey shimmer. Always like this. So this is not a unique color story, but the palette is pretty. I love this pale pink. Pale pink is actually my favorite color. So the packaging is pretty, puts me in the mind of Valentine's Day, even though this isn't their Valentine's release. It has a nice mirror. And if you'd like me to do a look with this palette, I mean, this is a look with this palette, but if you'd like to see the way the shades perform, I can do that. But I do have a lot of other releases coming up. And like I said, I'm going to do a dedicated video on their Valentine's Day release. I have 2 blushes, I have a lipstick, a lip gloss, and an eyeshadow palette quad that I've been testing. All right, so let's talk about the Glossier. I have this liner in Black Cherry, which there's nothing wrong with Glossier liners. The Black Cherry shade I think is pretty. I like Black Honey by Clinique, so I thought that maybe I'd like this one, but I think it's a little too bright for me, and it's not going to end up being something that I use. It'll be something that I gift, but not because there's anything wrong with it, just because this is too much for me, this bright. And it's faded a little bit because I have drank a cup of coffee and some tea since I put this on. Now it is holding up, but it's not as neat of a line as it was when I first put it on. But if you like this color story, there is nothing wrong with the performance. And I do have the Glossier Cloud Paint in Black Cherry on my cheeks. And that is very super pigmented. So I would suggest that you put it on your hand and you tap it out, and then you pick it up with a brush, which I did here, and you pick it way up with a brush, and then you kind of pounce it on. I like the Cloud Paint shade, and this is very deep and very pigmented, but yet you can wash it out. I would not go straight in on my face, not even with a dot. I definitely like to pick them up on my hand, get them really worked into the brush, and then go in and tap it on. And even with doing that, when I first put it on, it was a little bit, this is without adding any more product. But when I went on the first time, I ended up shearing it out a little bit with powder. When I go in heavy-handed with a product and I want to diffuse it a little bit, but being mature skin, dry skin, not liking to use a lot of powder, I like to go in with Hourglass's ambient powders. I like to go in with the one Incandescent Light. These are finishing powders, they're not setting powders, but they're so light and the texture is so barely there on your skin. And this gives kind of that incandescent light look, which I think is so pretty that I like to blend out an over pigmented product with these particular powders, because I don't think that they give any added texture to your skin. They don't look like you have a powder on, but yet they have a beautiful light invisible coverage. Now the foundation was not invisible, but Hourglass's powders I feel like are invisible as far as texture or added layers. So this is what the little Glossier Cloud Paint containers look like. So they're these little squeezy tubes. If you have not used them before, you can look at the pigmentation. Whoa, I let way too much out. This can last you like your whole life, like one tube. I mean, I put way too much. I mean, even one dot I don't want to put straight on my face, because look how pigmented that is. But the color is really pretty. When I first started using these blushes, I looked a little bit like a clown, but with time I just learned that you just put a little bit on your hand, like this, and you just keep, you know, dabbing that brush, until that brush is coated evenly with the product. And then I still like to take that and wipe it off a little bit, like tap it onto my hand just to make sure that it's coming off evenly, which you can see it is coming off evenly. You know, it's applying evenly, and then go in. So I'm gonna wrap up this review. I could give you all the footage. I did footage where I checked in at 4 hours, where I checked in at 8 hours, where I checked in at the 13, almost 14 hour mark and gave you my final thoughts. But I just think that's wasting your time, because in every single situation, the foundation just looked bad. It did last. I don't think, if you're looking for a long-lasting foundation with a medium coverage and you have a little more moisture in your skin, you probably will absolutely love this. But for me, it is not invisible on my skin, and not only is it not invisible, but it is cakey and is accentuating every wrong thing. And so that did not change at the end of any day. It got a little better over time, like by the 13-hour mark, it was looking better than it did at the 1 hour mark. It was looking better than it did at the 4 hour mark, because it had just been able to meld with the heat of my skin. But I don't have 14 hours to wait for my foundation to look okay. I'm not gonna get up in the middle of the night and put it on so that it can acclimate and become one with my skin over the day and look better 14 hours later. I want it to look better from the jump. And this one on my skin just did not. That doesn't mean it won't work for you, but it did not work for me. I have a feeling it is the hydration. I have a feeling that the heater is sucking the life out of my skin. And I have 3 other foundations lined up to give you a review on. But the funny thing is that the next one up actually looks fine. So I'm telling that secret now. When you see that video come up, you're gonna be like, I already know the outcome of this video. Why watch it? Because she already said she liked it. But that's where the indecisiveness comes on this product, and whether it is the temperature and the heat and the humidity, or whether it just does not jive with my skin. I appreciate you all being here. I have a lot of product reviews. I am loving the new releases. I'm picking up as many as I can so that I can share them with you. It's kind of an exciting time when you have fun releases coming out. I've been liking the color stories. I always like to review foundations. I try to pick up almost every foundation. I need to make a foundation playlist so that all my foundations are in one playlist in case you want to just page through all the many foundations that I try. I'm always looking for the perfect one, even when I have ones I like. I always think the next one is going to cover the texture. The next one's going to cover the texture, the redness. It's not going to settle into fine lines and wrinkles. It's going to allow my pores to look blurred, but it's not going to accentuate the bad stuff. I never can get the perfect balance, hardly ever. I have to sacrifice something, and usually it's coverage level. If I go with a skin tint, a tinted moisturizer, or a light coverage foundation, and then cover up a little bit with concealer, it usually looks the best. Okay, I'm gonna see you again very soon. So because of all these new releases, I'm gonna have my every Sunday video, but you will see some other video reviews sprinkled in as often as I can do them. So make sure to click that notification bell and subscribe if you wanna be here for the new releases that are coming out. There's a lot of them, and I have a lot of them lined up behind this one. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I hope all of you are having a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's not